The war in Gaza is fully underway. As we look at what's happening over here in the Gaza Strip, we're going to be reviewing kind of what's going on in the last number of days. We mentioned on October 27th, or Friday, that the invasion was indeed underway. Still, there were some conflicting reports through Saturday. Some people were saying it's not really the real thing. They're just poking and prodding from the outside, but they're not really going in. But as I said on Friday, all indications were really pointing to the fact that the invasion was well underway, and that turned out to be true. We're going to be going over some maps and just give you some idea of what's going on out there, what has gone on, and really what we're going to be seeing here is that Israel is trying to cut off northern Gaza from southern Gaza and trying to isolate Hamas up in the north here so that they can crush the Hamas leadership as well as the Hamas infrastructure and all that. So we'll be talking about kind of what they may be doing in going forward here. What's their grand strategy of trying to eradicate Hamas from all of Gaza? There's some pretty crazy things being floated out there. And are they going to be potentially the thing that's actually going to happen? We'll get into that. Welcome to the Poplar Report, everyone. I'm Steve Poplar, and we're going to be covering stuff on this channel that the news media just can't keep up with. Stuff that's happening really fast, and giving you some context that the news media out there is not. And if you haven't noticed it already, the mainstream media has already started turning against Israel. They've forgotten the massacres. They've forgotten all the war crimes by Hamas and the sneak attack, and they're now starting to turn more and more against Israel and becoming more and more pro-Hamas, which is despicable. This is just a map of where the attacks happened on October 7th. You can see by all the little dots where different people were murdered and such like that on this map. You can see that it goes from Ashdod all the way down south, all along the Gaza Strip. They didn't just come out in one or two places. This was a coordinated campaign where they attacked villages and just all these different places all along the border, and even went in as so far as Afakim. That is just to kind of put that in perspective. And then we have the president of Turkey out here, Erdogan, saying, "We will work to prosecute Israel for the crimes it commits in Gaza. Israel must be stopped as soon as possible because it is no longer acting as a state, but as an organization. Israel is committing a war crime and must be held accountable before the law." We had already covered how President Erdogan had already threatened to attack Israel. And we're seeing that Israel more and more is a nation that is surrounded by enemies. The West Bank over here, Gaza here. Egypt is somewhat friendly, but not providing any assistance whatsoever. You have Jordan over here, once again, not really providing any assistance whatsoever. Up north here, we have Syria is actively putting troops, foreign troops on the border here who are actively attacking Israeli forces. In Lebanon, the government is doing nothing to stop Hezbollah from firing into northern Israel as well. And then we look a little further here, and we got Turkey over here, a massive population, massive economy, and large military. Some people did start posting about how 100 ships, 100 Navy ships from Turkey was passing through the Bosphorus Strait here in Istanbul. But that was a parade, and they don't usually have all those military ships up in the Black Sea, but they're not going to be moving them all down and going after Israel. One, because that's a really long distance to go. Plus two, they have Greece over here that they have a continuing conflict with going on. Plus three or four or whatever it is, they have this big conflict going on up to their north here between Russia and Ukraine. So they're not going to move all their Navy ships down south. They can't. If they move some ships down south, to support Gaza, that will be a big deal, but it's not like they're going to be moving their entire fleet down there or anything like that, at least not in the time being. And then, of course, we have Yemen down here. We have Yemen firing ballistic missiles and UAVs over Saudi Arabia and attacking Ilyat, southern Israel down here, having intercepts that were not stopped by Saudi Arabia or the U.S. Navy here. So enough got through that Israel had to shoot them down themselves with their arrow system. And then, of course, they have Iraq over here, which is basically a puppet state for Iran. So they have big Iran over here with its puppet states. They have Turkey up here. They're surrounded by enemies. Is it any wonder that they are trying to deal as fast and as quickly as they possibly can? Israel is now actively being attacked by 5 different directions. Gaza is continuing to fire missiles into Israel. I know people are like, why does Israel keep bombing Gaza? Well, why is Gaza continuing to fire missiles into Israel? A number of people were injured in a missile strike that hit Ashdod. So that is continuing on Israel too. They are under direct attack. West Bank is firing some small missiles, but they're also small arms fire against Israeli troops. They're being attacked with rocks, all that kind of stuff like that from West Bank. That's not as big of a threat to Israel, except for the fact that they have settlers and they also have security forces in the West Bank that are being directly attacked, whereas Gaza is firing missiles long range into Israel. Lebanon, they're firing missiles long range into Israel as well as direct fire against Israeli Defense Force posts and equipment. Syria, same thing. Yemen is lobbing ballistic missiles and UAVs to try to attack Israel as well. So, all in all, it's very a very difficult situation that Israel's in. So we showed this before. This is Wadi Gaza, which kind of separates kind of northern Gaza from southern Gaza. And this is where they were saying everyone north of here needs to evacuate, and that there was much time given for that to happen. Lots of airstrikes up here to encourage people to move. But what we've seen since the invasion on Friday, we have seen forces coming up here along the beach, coming down south here along the beach. We also see forces coming in from the east and trying to attack this area right here. It's kind of open area here, so armor can kind of get in. The beach is flat and less impediments there too, so they're doing that. And then, of course, this major thrust here trying to cut off northern Gaza from southern Gaza. That way they can trap the Hamas terrorists up here. They're going to be trying to get, almost certainly are going to be getting engineering teams in here to try to destroy any tunnels in this sector. Once they cut off the roads, the surface level, then they're going to try to destroy any tunnels underneath there to keep any flow of weapons and personnel back and forth between southern and northern Gaza. That's the game plan there. They have reached. So there's this main north-south road. Relatively early, I believe on Saturday, we started hearing from Hamas that they were seeing Israeli troops on that road blockading. So they've seemed to have gotten that far. We don't know if they've gotten any further. If forces from the north are trying to meet up with them by connecting via the beach. Not sure about that. A lot of this is hazy. Israeli Defense Forces aren't being super transparent on what they're doing, obviously for obvious reasons. Hamas doesn't have good communications from northern Gaza, so we're not getting good information from them either. So we're kind of people are tracking what kind of pictures and videos are being posted on social media and that type of thing, and start and trying to place these locations to kind of figure out what's going on where. And everybody's kind of looking at this and trying to put some dots on the map. The only people that really have a good handle on what's going on here probably is Israel. The Israeli Defense Force probably has a very, very accurate map of exactly where all their forces are and where they're getting, where they're getting into shooting conflicts with other people. So hopefully that map is kind of clear to just kind of give you an idea of what's going on out there. Now, we did just get word that on Friday at 3 p.m. Local time, that Hezbollah will have a video feed, a live video feed from leader Hassan Nasrallah. He is the leader of the Hezbollah in Lebanon, and he's going to be making a major announcement. It is most likely, this is what this commenter said, most likely following the ground entry of the IDF into Gaza, Nasrallah will declare war like the Houthis did in Yemen. But that remains to be seen. That has not actually been announced yet. But the Hezbollah folks have said that if Israel goes into Gaza, they will declare war. Why Friday? Well, Friday is the day that Muslims go to prayer at the mosque. And so they go and they hear their teachers teach at the mosque. And oftentimes what we see is that the more radical mosques and such like that will rally support for causes. And oftentimes what happens in the Middle East and elsewhere where Muslims are the majority, you see these speeches given at the mosque on Friday, and then everyone's, they're off, they're not working, and they're just coming from the mosque. They're part of a mob as they leave the mosque, and they've just been told what they should go do. And so they go out and they go do it. And so that's something that we kind of see there. We did not see an immediate response from Hezbollah. So this looks like what is going to happen is on Friday, we're going to have a major announcement from Hezbollah that they are going to declare war on Israel potentially. Now, Hezbollah is not Lebanon, but Hezbollah is in Lebanon, and they are a major force in Lebanon, and they're kind of more powerful than the Lebanese government in some respects, so that the Lebanese army can't really stand up to Hezbollah. And so that's kind of a situation where if Israel declares war on Hezbollah, then it's kind of, once again, the Lebanese are caught right in the middle of that firefight. A document was released just this weekend, which was kind of a white paper or planning paper about basically what Israel can do here. And the white paper, which has now been confirmed as being from the Israeli government from October 13th, is the idea of pushing all the people of Gaza into Egypt and setting up refugee camps here in Egypt, and having all of the people pushed out of Gaza. Now that is extreme, and people will immediately start saying that's ethnic cleansing. That's a war crime. And is this? Well, apparently it was definitely a position that was considered or is being considered by the Israeli Defense Forces and the Israeli government. And we've seen this with the United States quite a bit, where they leak a document like that to see kind of how the population responds. And in this case, it might be very well seeing how Israel, the Israeli population, responds to this proposal. And if they don't get significant pushback, then they may be like, yeah, actually, we're going to do that now. So it'd be moving 2 million Gazans to Egypt. And so this is a legitimate document, but it's not their plan. It's a plan that has not been approved. But they're not saying that they won't go through with it either. The document recommended that civilians from Gaza be evacuated into northern Sinai, which is in Egypt, where they will be housed in tent cities and serviced by humanitarian corridor before permanent cities were built. A buffer zone of several kilometers would be created along the border with Israel. The report recommended that this strategy be pitched to the international community as a humanitarian approach to minimizing civilian casualties in Israel's assault on Gaza. And then it would also go on to say basically this would come in stages where cut off northern Gaza, push people out of northern Gaza, cut off northern Gaza, deal with the Hamas terrorists in northern Gaza, and then actually push people either cut off again and push south again, or to just push the remaining people down south into Egypt. Of course, Egypt has to agree to this, and that definitely is not the case right now. The other possibility is whether they are actually looking to do that here inside Israel's territory. It doesn't seem highly likely, but it does seem to be like they're trying to get them down into Egypt. But of course, Egypt will have to sign off on that. Israel can't just invade Egypt and just push 2 million Gazans in there. But if that were to happen, if you have Egypt has already said no, that they will not allow the Gazan population into Egypt. And the reason for that is primarily that they don't want to lose. It's kind of like the Gazans in Israel are still holding the fort. They're still holding the claim to that territory. The Gazan people, the Palestinians, are still claiming that all of Israel belongs to the Palestinians, and therefore all the Jews need to leave. And when I say leave, they don't really mean leave. They mean they want to kill them all, which is atrocious and awful. And so Israel's dealing with this type of population. Egypt is not necessarily on board with all of the mission there, but they do want to see the Palestinians get back all of this territory because this was conquered by Islam, and Islam never takes a step back. And so Israel, being a non-Muslim country in an area that was conquered by Islam, really, really rubs the Muslims really the wrong way. And so they need to keep these poor people here in order to keep them keeping up the claim that Israel belongs to Muslims. And that's kind of where we are with that. It's just, it's not good. So where's China land in all this? I know a number of people have pointed out the fact that the Chinese government has deployed some Navy ships to the Middle East, but some people have mistakenly understood that to be that China has sent ships here into the Mediterranean, which is not accurate. The Chinese ships are here in the Persian Gulf, as well as over here outside in the Gulf of Oman, that type of thing. They've been doing a bunch of sightseeing tours. They visited Kuwait, and they're moving through and visited United Arab Emirates. So they've been kind of active in here. And what are they doing? There's 6 of them, and they are basically 6 highly capable vessels to the Middle East. Which is something that not a lot of countries can do. Now, while we haven't seen reports on exactly what these highly capable vessels are, some of them are destroyers, but we have at least 1 support ship in there, possibly 2 support ships to provide them with fuel and everything like that. So, take that with a grain of salt. 6 ships is pretty impressive, but we believe at least 1 of those are support ships, because we had another report where 3 Navy ships visited the UAE this past week as part of that group, and 1 of those ships was listed as a support ship. So of the 6, at least 1 is a support ship. And when I say support ship, that's a resupply ship. So the ship has extra munitions, has extra fuel, and so it comes alongside the destroyers and refuels them, rearms them, gives them food, that kind of thing, out of the cold storage, so that those ships can continue operating. The United States has lots of logistical ships that we don't really talk about all that much, but it is one of the big backbones of the U.S. Navy. So what's the big deal with that? Well, the problem is that China is essentially providing a shield to Iran. They're they're being there right there in the waters to make sure that the United States and other allies don't beat up on Iran. They're there to partially defend or to to at least give pause to American ships and other allies that may want to attack Iranian oil fields, refineries, that type of thing. Also, what we see here, and this is kind of telling, China is very intentional about what goes on their maps, and they have erased Israel from the Chinese maps. So Israel doesn't exist anymore, and it's just unlabeled. So they are, they have the area demarcated, but they don't have the name on there anymore. And so China has done their 9-dash line where they make their claim to the South China Sea. They're very adamant that on everyone's maps all around the world that Taiwan be the same color as mainland China, that it is not a separate color as if it's a separate country. They make sure that wherever they can get countries to bow down and companies all around the world to bow down to their map requests. The fact that they are turning around and erasing Israel from the map should tell you kind of what level of thinking they have going on, what direction they're planning on going with. And this is what I was kind of saying. The Chinese Navy is, for all practical purposes, shielding Iran from a distance. Yet even more forceful has been a statement by Premier Ling Quang, something unusually blunt and rare in Chinese diplomacy. China will continue to firmly support Iran in safeguarding its national sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national dignity, and will strongly oppose any external forces interfering in Iran's internal affairs. So that is what is going on over there, folks. So much happening in this region. Like I said, Shiite militias, Hezbollah in Iraq, are continuing to move through Syria into southern Syria, where they are amassing here, along with Syrian Hezbollah, amassing here on the border with Israel. When we have a declaration of war from the Lebanese Hezbollah, we will probably hear very quickly a declaration of war from Iraqi Hezbollah, and that will turn the north of Israel into a whole new war zone. Israel, of course, is aware of this situation. United States has been bombing along the border here, attacking these caravans of Iraqi militia moving into Syria. These are, once again, Iranian-backed Hezbollah that are Shiite militias. That is what they've also been bombing here. They've been using this road to get into Syria. This road down here is more controlled by the insurgents against the Syrian government. So U.S.-backed insurgents kind of control this road a little more. So while they've been blocked from coming this way, the U.S. has been attacking convoys along this road, which is this side of the river is held by Syrian government. This side is held by U.S.-backed resistance folks. So that's kind of what's been going on with that. And we'll keep you guys updated on things as they go forward. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from the channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.